Here. What's up, people? Here we go.
There we
Finally.
go.
This thing took forever to kick over.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
welcome.
on now.
It's
Hello.
Friday. It is Friday. Friday of Fridays. And if you caught the thumbnail, I tried to introduce you all to the more studious side of Koi.
Studious.
The side of him that has you thinking deeply in thought, monocle and all. And not Monocle Lewinsky, just Monocle, okay?
Gross.
Mr. Potato, the peanut man. But we're going to have a good time because we did find some content for people to understand who Koi is. Because the person we're talking about today is right up the alley that I think a white person should address.
That's not the right way to say it.
That's the perfect way to say it.
Jeez.
We have
so you are allowed to use your white supremacy.
you're going to be
yeah,
using
yeah.
the white ticket today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring out
The
the
reason we're
the
doing it, in
skinhead
case
in me.
people forgot, a week ago or so, we had a few people in the chat that were positing that Koi should be the one that takes over the podcast, and because he was such a calm and even-leveled demeanor guy, and that he was the one that didn't speak bad about people, and he never does that, and it's so refreshing to have somebody like that who's not disrespectful. And we had told people, y'all don't understand who Koi is really. Koi has to be. We had to. How did best word coif? We had to coif Koi a little bit to make him nice and presentable and clean cut, and
I have to live up to my namesake.
yeah.
Like a koi.
So I went scouring the interwebs, and I came across an old rival of mine on TikTok. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background before we allow this video to play and for Cold Turkey to respond to it.
Yeah.
This individual goes by the name of Duet Ninja, Duet Ninja. What he really wants to say is he's a duet nigga, is what he wants to say, but he's trying to stay as clean and educated looking as he can. But when you see him, Michael, what was that term you said he looked like? What?
He looked like a Wish KRS-One. He
Oh,
looked
yeah.
like you'll see his nostrils look like he's sucking up all the woke air. Sucking it out. Just his nostrils are so big, his brain is a vacuum.
Yeah,
like in space.
Like he would be a great
it's
to replace Harambe with. Okay,
If you can say that, he looks like a porpoise, right? He's like always coming up from the woke water to breathe the area.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Cash? And when he comes to the surface,
he just spouts. He does that misty spout of bullshit.
Hey, his nostrils so big. He's the type of dude that used to hang out with Rick James. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
No, he couldn't hang out with Rick James because he would take up all the cocaine in one snort.
Rick stopped being friends with this guy a while back.
Yeah.
Now he says he taught at the collegiate level. He said he taught at ninth grade, and he taught civics and history, all this grandiose stuff. But when you hear him speak, I think people might change their mind. You never know. So without further ado, Ninja. Now one more thing. He also claims to be well known on the internet.
Yeah.
And we've been to his YouTube and his Instagram page, and neither one of them suggests that anybody knows who this clown is.
Like 300 people.
Much less care about what he has to say. I think he has an X page as well where he has 92 followers.
Yeah.
And then he has on his Instagram, he has almost 400 followers.
Woo, them numbers, man.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Even I or us wouldn't claim that we're well known on the internet. Like,
No.
Right.
That's
Marlon,
just a stretch.
I keep laughing in my head, but I just want to go to your comment about Harambe. I just can't get that out of me.
Look, this would be a great substitute.
Racist.
Think about it. It's a great substitute. Harambe got killed. If you put this dude in the zoo,
Euro-monarchical cultures.
Yeah.
Don't he look like, look,
So
he looks
what's
like
the
KRS-One. You must learn.
The comment says, these other cultures existed and were brought here by the cultures that came here. Remember, this is a country founded on settlers and immigration. Okay, that's the comment. Okay, does the comment make sense to you?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, makes sense. All right. So this is a This is his response.
Hmm.
Okay. This is the duet here, but it's a stitch. You know, it's odd, but he calls himself the duet ninja, but all he does is stitch.
He's a stitch ninja.
A stinger.
A stinger.
He's a stinger.
That's
all right. Tell us what you think, Mr. Nostrils.
And I already made a video and kind of in conjunction with this, but just to reinforce, because I figured this is your thought process. These other cultures existed and were brought here by the cultures that came here. Remember, this is a country founded on settlers and immigration. Actually, it's a country founded on aristocracy and slave labor, for the wealthy. Yeah, it was never meant to be for the common peoples to have freedom and influence on the political process. It was never made for that.
Okay. Part one. Please.
First up, here's the first insult I'm gonna label Tim. You, in order to stroke your chin like you have a beard, you actually have to have a beard. Like, first, just right off the back, and secondly, is that even if the entire United States had been founded nothing on aristocracy and slavery, that would not have built the United States. It would have failed fairly early if that was the only thing, because you had to convince people to actually come here. The reason people left the Europe side of the monarchical structures is because they were being oppressed by the monarchies and they wanted to leave. In order to expand out west, you had to actually have common people. Not every rich person in the world could have spread out west because they wouldn't want to die. So you actually have to have the common people in order to make that work.
So far, he's not batting very high for his intellectual capacity as a teacher. But then again, I tell you, my history with him has proven that he does not really have. At one point, he said there's a difference between truth and fact. This was a fight we had. Mr. Nostril and I had a fight about truth and fact. He said they're not the same.
No, if you would have made the argument that the rich were using the poor in order to expand immigration and to actually make the country, then sure. But they still do that today. That's never went away. All these same families are still in power from Europe to now. They're all part of the same family. They always have been. It's all the old money. It's still old money.
But black people, you know.
That the whole settlers and immigration thing, that was a ploy to get you to come here so they can employ you and get your get your livelihood started so they can take the money from you. I mean,
but is that really what happened when America got started?
No, it's not.
I don't remember history leaning that way. Now, I remember when the United States finally got its title like that with the, Constitution. It was about another 100 years or so that we had this particular mindset that set in. But before that, no. What was it? About 3 to 8%, maybe 5% of the population owned slaves.
Very small.
Very minute.
It's the same wealth inequality that we see in today. It's never really gone away. Like, all the people that own things still own things, right? So the things that they own just happen to be people back then. The things that they own now just happen to be people too. It's the same thing. It's never changed.
No, but apparently black people built America, so don't forget that too.
Yeah.
Just look at the tax structure. Look at what it takes for you to own property, maintain property. I mean, this country was not built on settlers and immigration. It was built on aristocracy and slave labor.
The difference is, you dummy, is the tax codes that you see now were not what the country was founded on and how the taxes operated back then. Don't forget, we had a fight over that, you dummy.
Well, it's not only that, is that taxes are the modern taxes that we have today are recent inventions. Right. Not until 1913 did we have the tax system that we have today. It didn't exist in the time frame that you're talking about. Exactly. They had tariffs, right? They had tariffs on things, but they didn't have property taxes. They didn't have income tax, most notably. Right. Everything that you're taxed on today didn't exist until about 100 years ago.
Again, history teacher here. You want to know why your kids grow up to be morons? Teachers like this.
Yeah, his face.
Yeah. But you're right about the fact that he has nothing down here. I trim my beard recently, and I still have more
of a little
Those are more like pubes.
thing.
That's like pubes right there.
Well, look, Marlon, his nostrils suck the beard up. Well, maybe he grows it. And every time he breathes in,
it takes away the hair.
It takes
vacuums
it all away, and it won't stay. So that's maybe you can grow one.
Man, it's not his fault that every time it grows, it goes in wrong. All right,
That's right.
if he could shave better, it'd be fine.
And this is what they like to do. Like he'll say something and think people he's got some point to make. Watch, that's his face.
Aristocracy and slave labor.
Mm-hmm.
If you simply look at the early stages of the Constitution of the United States, regular people were never supposed to have power.
Huh?
That's not true at all. It's not
What
true.
Constitution is he reading?
The one in one of his Hotep books.
Okay, I'm confused. Which Constitution did it say that the people doesn't have power?
Yeah, even if that was true. Like, let's put it that even if that was true, it was still an ideal that the people would be in charge of the government, right? That was the ideal of the United States. We were supposed to be self-governing individuals. Now, what had happened is that certain people infiltrated it and made it so it only benefited them, which is the thing we're fighting today, is people that get in with money and control the system.
That is true.
Instead of actually living up to what the Constitution says. That's where we are right now. So like that doesn't make any sense to me. And even then, here's another thing that I always get is we were talking about slavery. So what kind of slavery are you talking about? What's your definition of slavery? Because some people will include indentured servitude and then others won't. And we're going to add in all the people that were slaves in the United States, including indentured servants, because they like to do this thing where they'll say, well, they weren't really slaves. Then what else would you call it? If indentured servitude is not forced, like paid slavery or whatever you want to call it, then what else would have been if you were forcing somebody to work for no money?
Yep.
Well, the differentiation is one, that type of slavery because you were in debt versus chattel slavery where you're just abused.
Yeah, I mean it's the same in my mind. I mean, what's the difference between a contractual slave and a sold slave?
In their mind, there's a massive difference,
Yeah.
in their mind.
Or why don't we talk about the entire Atlantic slave trade where people from all different cultures were taken and sold in the Middle East? We never talk about that, or the Europeans that were kidnapped.
But black people did that.
Essentially Irish, which the English allowed to be kidnapped so they could get rid of them.
But that's different. You can't talk about
We can't. You're white. We can't.
Yeah, stop it.
So,
black people are better than you.
It's one of those things. It's like because they like potatoes too much, they're fine. They can be taken to the Middle East and sold. It's perfectly fine because the redheads were really high premiums in the Middle East, just so you know.
That's why there's a lot of redheads in the Middle East.
It gets better. It gets better.
Ever.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
This is the habits of America.
It's habits of America that we were always supposed to be slaves.
I still have no clue what he actually said in any of that because none of the stuff he actually said made.
Look, kimchi's here.
Sense.
Hey, I actually had Chinese food for lunch. It was delicious. I thought about you, Jay.
Man, getting good kimchi is hard though, because like you either get one that's too vinegary or like not fermented enough.
So you make your own.
Hard.
Yeah, that's why you make your own.
Here we go.
I would mess it up.
It's really not that hard.
It's not hard.
Number 2.
No.
The party
Damn,
was
look at him now.
introduced to stop slavery here in the USA. You're always going to be the problem, sir, and you're welcome. Now,
let me guess. He's going to say that the Republican Party has never been the party of anti-slavery.
oh, just wait.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to appreciate the fact that this man is 98% nose when it comes to his face. That's quite an accomplishment.
Dang.
Now, I understand.
It's
that
an all
the
nose.
racist terms meant that the black people have big noses and big lips, but this is excessive even for that meme. I mean, he looks like the caricature of all the racist cartoons they ever had.
Wait, so he's the racist trope?
Yeah.
He is the trope?
See,
he's patient zero for
okay. So when he was born, the doctors had trouble because his nose was too damn big that he couldn't make it out properly without being pulled.
They thought it was an umbilical cord that was wrapped up on his face, but it wasn't. It was the nose.
They thought it was his actual head. Here he comes, and it was just nose.
Oh,
like,
damn, it's not a twin.
wait,
It's
that's
just
not
one
a
guy.
kid. That's just the nose.
It was like the doctor looked at him and said, "Oh man, this kid's all nose."
He knows everything.
That's why he's nosy.
He knows
Damn, he's
everything.
nosy.
That's why he's nosy. Yeah, there you go.
No,
You're
it's
going to
because-
hell.
This is his answer to this statement. Okay, just that. This is gold. Okay, absolute gold.
Oh man. Republican Party.
Yeah, I will always be a problem to people like
And what
you.
is up with the pigeon stuff on top of his head? Like he's doing some kind of
No,
old
who-
ritual with the sticks on
Oh
his head.
God, I know who
That's
he reminds me of.
Pan-African,
Who's
man.
that? Who's a guy in the '90s who had that freaking hair?
KRS-One.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He's KRS.
This is
Zero.
Reggie.
But like a fatter version of that.
This is Reggie from the Nutty Professor.
Yes.
Reggie, I don't know whether to smile back or kick a field goal. Reggie, that's who this is.
It looks like he's about ready to be on a '90s rap album that's like really bad because it's one of those mixtapes that he's trying to give out on the street.
Nose, no man. What
I mean-
the hell is up with that?
That nose is so
Coolio.
big. He doesn't even need the hooks on the glasses for the ears for his glasses.
That's
to
an
sit
insult
there.
to Coolio.
He can take the glasses, the bars off the arm,
And just rest it there.
and it could just rest there like Mr. Magoo.
It's a shelf. Holy
That's what
crap.
He
Like
does.
a
He
black
doesn't need a
Mr.
haircut. He
Magoo.
needs to get rid of the hair entirely. He can't even grow any. What are you
Well,
talking about?
you know how some people do comb overs. This guy has a latent attachment to what he has left. He's trying to hold on to his youth. Okay, just let
He's
the man
pulling
have
it
it.
all.
Let you get be like me. Just let it go, man. Just
Yeah.
let it go.
Remember, doesn't he kind of look like Mr. Magoo? A
A black Magoo.
Yeah.
Would that make him Mr. Mapoo?
You know what? That let me
Mr.
let me
Nick
look that
Poo.
up. Black Mr.
Magoo.
Yeah,
Is it me or is his hairline receding like nobody's business?
I don't think he has a hairline at this point, bro. I think he's
Well,
trying
no,
to create
it's-
one.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's definitely trying to create it. So
The
let me
face
see
job
what-
is horrible.
now, so
I couldn't
far,
find a
all he's
black
done-
version of it, but I found the regular version of Mr. Magoo. So people
Do
can
they look
understand what we're
alike?
talking- Yeah, here you go.
They look a lot. I'm telling you.
That's Mr. Magoo.
Oh, it's him.
See?
It is
Put
black
some
Mr.
glasses
Magoo.
on. Look at that nose.
Holy
For
cow!
the younger audience, if we have any, that's Mr. Magoo. If you didn't know who Mr. Magoo was,
Oh my
It
god.
is.
It is.
Wow. Look at that. And look at that. Oh, yeah. The same eyebrow and everything. Look at that.
the black
That's
Mr. Magoo.
crazy.
There you go.
That's crazy.
I mean, it makes sense because he's blind. So
Now hear me out. For 9 seconds of this video, all he did was look at the camera and shake his head. Okay, for 9 seconds. You wasted 9 seconds. Let's see.
call that the millennial pause.
Scratch. Uh-huh.
It's pausing for dramatic effect. Yeah.
Yeah, I will always be a problem to people like you because you will never, ever deal with accountability.
Accountability.
Th-
Okay.
This is what he paused on. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall be duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any subject of their jurisdiction. I'm not sure why he put that in there to talk about the fact that.
Oh, this is the argument that Hoteps make all the time: is that
Yes.
slavery in the United States have never ended because we have criminals, right? So we just put them in jail instead of putting them in
Mhm.
chains. It's like no, because like they had to make that distinction because you can't say it was like, well, then locking people in jail is slavery because you make them work. And it's like, well, no, that's not the case. You lose your civil liberties when you commit a crime that we need to remove you from the general populace because of what you did. That's
Well,
called a punishment.
what they're saying, in essence, is that Negroes are criminals by nature.
Yeah.
So because it's natural to us, you should not put us in jail because we're going through trauma from forever ago.
That's
And this is
racist,
our
yeah.
reaction to trauma. So you can't hold us to the same standards as you would everybody else. We've been through too much to act right.
Yeah. And we've said this before. The only reason that the black population in the United States have gotten worse is because they repeatedly voted Democrat. You can look at the trend from when they switched to voting to the Democratic Party and the downturn of the black family, and almost correlates completely.
It's simultaneous.
It's like
It's crazy. Maybe he'll talk this time. Maybe he'll say something of worth. Let's find out.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
You say I'm welcome, but what should I be thankful for? You brought nothing to the table but your opinion, which aren't based in truth or fact.
Dude, your entire
this
channel is
here
nothing but
is the
opinion.
Absolute truth.
I don't see how this is saying anything
least
about
read
what he's
it.
mentioning. Like that
Yeah,
doesn't even
what's your
address
argument?
the comment.
It's like like coming from a supposed teacher. He just threw up a source without any actual like what's your quote? What's the thing? Your argument? What's your actual argument here? Other than here, this is the thing I said. This is the thing. This is my source. Okay, that's your source, but what are you saying? What does that mean? What do you want?
Like, it doesn't make sense because what this is talking about has nothing to do with what she said. This is not slavery. And you never addressed the party in creation about this. All you show us is this.
Yeah, he's saying that the Republican Party didn't actually do anything for Black people because they still did the 13th Amendment, which allowed, like you said, goes off the thing that like apparently Black people are inherently criminals, and so therefore the Amendment 13
Aimed at them.
unjustly aims at Black people. That's the argument you're making here, which is stupid.
Kind of weird. Okay, maybe he adds more.
He claims he's a teacher.
That
Retro
party
claims.
was created for nothing other than to be the opposite of. Didn't have nothing to do with eliminating quote unquote.
Well, okay. I got to hear that again because that made it even worse.
Why is he talking so low?
Okay, let's hear what
He's
he
mumbling.
Nothing
It's
other
whispering.
than to be the
He
opposite
said
He's a
the
mumble rapper
party-
of TikTok.
for nothing other than to be the opposite of.
The party was created for nothing other than to be the opposite of.
Opposite of what? What party?
Slavery?
Opposite of what party? What party?
I mean,
If the
You want to know
Republican
why
Party
our
was
school system is the way it is, people? You want to know why our children ended up being so damn retarded today? Because they had people that call themselves teachers like this monkey.
Yeah.
Yep.
You had a blazing buffoon up on top in front of you, and all you had to do was bring a banana to school the next day and give it to him, and he could tell him something about being a hotep. These are the teachers that you're stuck with now. The most imbecilic dummies out there that have zero comprehension skills. They don't really care about history. They read into history instead of out of history because they are revisionists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most history textbooks are written from the point of view of whoever's writing it. So if there's a textbook that has nothing but opinion and subjecture and like qualifiers between parentheses and brackets or whatever else you want to call it, or even commas, then you're not getting the actual information, because history is supposed to be dry. It is supposed to be a really, really, really dry thing. This is the thing that happened, then the next thing happened, and then the next thing happened. That's history, right? Not your opinion. Well, this thing happened because of X, Y, and Z. Well, that's your opinion. He's talking slow because he is slow.
No, this is exact. Now, if you go through TikTok or Instagram, you'll find this about all these people who said they're educated Blacks. Usually their education comes in either social arenas, political arenas, but none of them actually come from tangible skills that you can market. Okay. Philosophy or some stupid stuff like that they will take to sound a certain way to persuade the masses that they know what they're speaking about, either by speaking super fast or ultra slow and making lots of facial expressions in between every 5 words that they say. And they will look at you like, and they'll point and they'll show you these stuff and have you read it as though what you're reading is, immune to thought. And then they'll just come with a completely different answer to what the thing they just showed you, like he just did. So the statement says slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime. And he circles except as.
Jeez.
Are you not supposed to lock people up for a crime? That's my question. Would be
If they're
for him.
white,
If,
yes.
If
If they're
that
black,
except
no.
as for a crime, okay. Except as okay. Are Black people inherently criminals? Because that's what you would have to believe in order for that to make sense. Like that logic has to jump there, which is, according to you, a white supremacist argument that they like Black people are inherently criminals.
Criminals.
Yeah, like you can't have that argument without accepting that as being a truth.
And
Like,
when it comes to the jail system, most of those people are in jail on a taxpayer's dollar. Taxpayers fund the jail. So, that whole thing, if you're giving something, especially when it comes to money and a place to live and food to eat and all this stuff, shouldn't you have to pay for that in some way, shape, or form? And I worked in the jail. What they do in a jail, it ain't hard. They work in the chow hall. They might fold some laundry. There's nothing they're doing is hard.
Yeah,
they
you
only
can read
go
some
for
books.
maybe 8 hours, and then they get the rest of the time reading books, eating. They don't even work every day.
Yeah.
And what they're not telling you is that, like, when he talks about this labor in the jail, especially the guys that aren't lifers, they work off time every time they work. So when they work, they're getting time taken out of their sentence also.
The whole
so
unless
idea,
you're,
racist.
unless
They'll
you're
never
Kamala
tell you
Harris
that.
district. Unless you're
yeah,
Kamala Harris
unless you're
district.
then we'll send you out to fight fires for you to maybe die, and so we don't have to worry about it. But that's the other argument to this thing. So do you not want to lock people up? So are you saying that we should just kill them? Because apparently that's better than slavery in your mind. Like we just should just round them up and shoot them. That's a much better solution in that regard. If you can't lock them up, then what are you supposed to do with them?
Let them go.
Oh yeah, that makes sense because nobody's going to do that.
No, you what you do is you look over their atrocities because
okay,
they've
yeah.
been through, at least their family, their history, their whole line has been through a whole lot of traumatic situations, and they cannot help it because they're dealing with trauma.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay,
It's
so this
passed
makes you
down.
understand that you pass down trauma.
But this is the thing that always irritates me about this is like, hasn't the in terms of their racist ideology, let's go there. I'm going to say it like this. This is according to their logic. Then hasn't the white population done enough to prove themselves? Like honestly, like when we think about this, was the deaths in the Civil War, especially on the Union side, not enough blood to forgive their sins?
Yes.
That was
That's
reparations.
that's the always
No.
question I
Yes.
would have to ask.
No.
Yep.
Yes. No.
That was
Yes.
reparations.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like how much blood did we need to shed in order to end this institution of slavery, and then also all the things that we've tried to do since then to make it up to you? How much is enough, other than giving you money and then saying be done with it? Like what do you want? What do you want?
it's never going to end, Coy. And it's not, to me, here's my opinion. It's not about the money. And it's not about these white people who had nothing to do with slavery apologizing or taking accountability for things they had no control over. Believe black folks like this and other hoteps and woke individuals want the roles reversed. They would be happy to put white people in chains. That's what they want.
Did.
They want power. No, they want it now. If they can
Yeah.
turn around and say slavery was legal and they would put white people in chains, these white people would be lined up just like the white slave masters back in the day to pick their white person to come work in their fields. That's what they want.
It's amazing to me to assume that Africans and Arabs did not own white slaves in their continent during the same time. It's amazing to me. Here's the thing: they also tend to like ignore. How about reparations from the Native Americans for owning slaves? That never comes up in the conversation ever. It's always about what the white person did. Well, what about everybody else, man? It was a global trade. You can't just look at a specific population of colored people and go, they're the ones responsible for it. When no, it was an entire industry that made money off of everybody, right? So everybody bought slaves, everybody sold slaves. At what point was it enough? Just like the British, they're the ones that went around making the Arabs stop taking white people from Europe.
Yep, I remember that.
You know what America will never get credit for, and this is just factual. Okay.
Yeah.
We will never get credit for the fact that they were the very first large-scale economy and culture to eradicate from the law books slavery.
Yeah, they were the first.
They'll never get credit for that. You know why? Because white people.
Yeah.
And because teachers like Mr. Nostrils here.
They still practice slavery in the Middle East and in Africa today. They still do it. They've never eradicated it. It's never gone away.
You know what game he'd be good at? Scratch and sniff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd win every time.
He would. He'd be a good, drug searching individual.
Oh my God. The Air Force would be happy for this guy.
They'd be like, call Ninja. He knows how to sniff out crack.
It's over there under the
pillow. It's under
They should have got him to identify that dime bag at the White House.
Yeah,
he would have figured out who he was.
I've talked about this before. There's nothing more dangerous than a half-wit that thinks they're a full-wit. All right? That's exactly what this guy is. He's a half-wit pretending to be a full-wit who isn't even a half-wit. He's a no-wit.
I would respect a lot of these people like him, these hoteps, these pro-blacks, or whatever you want to call them. I would respect them more if they actually told the true history. They only focus on, like Coy stated, they only focus on the white, what the whites did to the blacks, but they don't want to go all the way back how it started. Mm-hmm. They never want to talk like that because why? It puts black people in a bad light. I remember the president from Nigeria or something apologized. You remember that when he came out and apologized for what happened in the past to the black Americans? And they still won't look at that and say, well, he said it. This president actually said that the blacks, Africans sold us into slavery. Blame the people that started it. The white people, the colonies, and all these other people, they were just people trying. It was a business.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, I'll take them. If you're selling them, hey, this is a business to me. Blame the people that sold them. But they won't do that. Why?
No.
Because they don't like that part of history.
And here's a couple of inconvenient truths too. How about the thousands upon thousands of Irish immigrants that were pulled off the boat and thrown in the Union to fight in the Civil War when they just got there to die for things they weren't even responsible for.
Well,
they had just gotten there.
Wait a minute. That's not slavery. That's indentured servitude.
Yeah, we talk about it. And the other thing, like you said, the only way that Europeans could get black Africans in the first place is because they were captured and sold by other tribes in Africa. Because you can't just go to a place you've never been before and get off the boats and start rounding people up. It don't work like that
already.
Yeah.
You can't do that to the new tribes that they find now. You're gonna get sniped by a stray spear.
But Coy, that's the way they make it sound. Like all these white dudes pulled up in all these boats and just ran through Africa and just started slinging black. It didn't work like that.
The cartoonish nature of that is so hilarious.
So funny.
Like
you believe. Okay, so this is how dumb you are. You believe the guys in boats just got on a boat with no sort of like plan, just went up to the shores of Africa with giant nets, went inland in a place they've never been before to go look for black people to throw in nets and drag them back to the boats. That sounds very inefficient.
And on that point, okay, you think about the whole west of Africa, the western portion, right?
Yeah.
How many people, white people, would they had to have had to round up that many black people?
They would never have enough.
Here's the other thing: is you're telling me that pasty white folks from a very cold and temperate climate went to a hot area, unclimatized, and stole the people. Yeah.
And you know the key word behind that? What is it called? The Atlantic what?
Slave trade.
Okay, so when you trade, this white person over here is talking to this brown person over here, and so however they're communicating. This brown person knows this other dark person over here. He goes, hey, I know this guy that has some freaking slaves for you. Why don't you pull up here on this area and we'll work it out. And then this brown person that's already over there that has slaves is paying these black people to give their people over to these white people. And it was just a trade. Money. They were money. They were goods. But as you said, didn't no white people just get off and be like, oh, I like them darkies over there. Let's scoop them on up. Let's bring them on over here.
Just like they're a flock of geese. Just like, we're just gonna go grab them. Like that. That's how they imagine it works. No, but here's the other thing.
God.
First of all, no one's angry. Okay. Secondarily, this is the day for it because we've told everybody that Famous Fridays is the day we roast and insult people. Thirdly, if you have a problem with us disrespecting fools, then I don't know what to assume about you.
Or maybe you are the fool.
And finally, we don't give a damn if you don't like it. And it might be sad to hear, but at the same time, you don't have to be around it. There is an exit strategy you can use. You know what that exit strategy is called? Closing the browser and leaving YouTube. You don't have to watch us insult people. You don't have to watch us disrespect or fight. And in fact, we are not angry. We are quite content and happy right now. In fact, this is our happiest day of the week because we get to do what we've been always wanting to do, which is insult stupid people. We have no problem calling people stupid when they're stupid, like this moron, this big nose, overweight, undereducated jack monkey. We have no problem calling him names. None. In fact, it makes us happy. It makes us joyous on the inside to be able to insult stupid people who stay stupid on purpose. It's not even like he's retarded because he was on a short bus because of a mental delay he had falling out of the bassinet. This man's retarded by choice.
Yeah.
Do you know how stupid you got to be to stay retarded by choice? So we're going to keep doing it. And if you don't like it, exit. Go find a different channel. It's that easy. It's not hard.
I'm gonna assume by the
hey, one more thing. If people want us to talk about stuff, right? Pay us and we'll talk about a topic you want us to talk about.
There you go.
You ain't paying us. We're going to talk about what we talk about. We are self-funded. We put the money into the show. We come up with the topics. We put all this work in. None of you guys are paying us to talk about something. So if you wanted to, if you have a specific topic, and this is no disrespect, I'm just getting tired of seeing this on social media. People feel so entitled to tell people what they need to talk about. Create a podcast. It's not that hard, and talk about it.
Yeah.
End of story.
Pretty easy. And you can call it childish, but what's wrong with being childish? In fact, don't they say forever young is a good thing? I want to be forever young. I'm going to stay forever young. I'm going to be a child for as long as I can be. If you want to grow up to be a hostile old fool, that's your problem, not mine. None of us on the screen here are mad at all. In fact, I would dare say that this is probably one of our happiest days of the week. And we are quite content. And even with people like you around, it does not deter our happiness. In fact, we will continue. In fact, you're giving us more reason to do this again a second and third and fourth time. So thank you for the update of who you are and for giving us more fodder. You're not doing what you think you're doing. So at the same time, we don't need you here. But if you want to stay to give us views, thank you. Okay? Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Now, back to the roast session. And we will continue to be childish and insulting and disrespectful. Because this is what we like to do.
But now, Marley, don't forget, every time they view and comment, guess what we get? They are actually paying.
All right, you are paying. You're assisting YouTube and paying us. Thank you so very much. You know how to help Black businesses. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And you're helping the white patriarchy by helping Koi too. So you're doing a double service. Both sides of the fence.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to assume by his username that he's a pretend intellectual who thinks
smooth brain.
Smooth brain. Yeah. You're dumber than a koala.
I think he was trying to spell cereal, and he may have misspelled it.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Fat fingered it.
To do with eliminating "quote unquote" slavery in America at all.
We already ran through that.
I don't know what the at the end was supposed to do. Like they talk as though what they say has such profundity to it, when it really doesn't have anything educational except for breathing heavy, looking at the camera, flaring your nostrils. You have the camera down at the angle like this. We don't need to see what your thought process is because we can see everything, and it's a very cavernous place up there.
I don't know why people do that. Like, it's so awkward to always have to look inside somebody's nose. Like, if I wanted to go spelunking, I would go out into the back of the Ozarks and go to like Devil's Den or some shit. You know, I don't want to go in your nose, dude. Like, there's a thing called an upward angle, or at least eye level. It's right there.
Yes,
that reminds me so much
not
of
spelunking.
Spelunking, yeah.
When he told me I was going spelunking, I'm going spelunking.
Inside of his nose looks like the other side of the ice wall.
Yeah. It is the second nose. It's nose. It's the second known largest cavern in the world. Is his nose.
Oh man. Okay, now, how can there be multiple? These are questions people ask. How can there be multiple human races? This is a genuine question because he had said something about that. Now,
let me guess. He's going to say that white people aren't actually humans because they have more Neanderthal DNA than anybody else.
Maybe. I don't know. I have not heard his response on this.
Have you heard that argument recently?
Oh yes.
Like you'll have all of Black TikTok saying that white people aren't real Homo sapiens because they have too much Neanderthal DNA. They're not really people.
But aren't these the same hoteps that said everyone originates from?
Yeah,
Africa.
But then they'll also use the skull ideology too. You remember that whole like skull science? Yeah, the skull science where like you can tell somebody how smart they are based on their skull. You know, the Germans thing that they did. They took that and they said, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's use that for Caucasians.
Yeah.
So hold on. You said something kind of weird. I want to make sure I get this right. What did you say they thought about white people? Is that they what?
Oh, that they weren't real Homo sapiens.
Okay, so you were defeated by brainless people?
Yeah.
Let me get this right. Let me get this completely right. The black race, this supposedly mecca of all things and creator of all life and the most brilliant people that had to teach white people how to bathe. Y'all lost your freedom to a people that didn't have proper hygiene, poor brain calculations, and were weaker? What does that say about y'all? And you're still under them?
I didn't say it.
I'm just wondering how you come up with that solution, how you come up with that equation that white people are such a beneath you thing, and they still manage to whoop your ass like in they continue to do it all over the place. That makes you either really, 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 really soft, or what you're saying ain't true.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
true.
Let's see what his answer to this is.
Again with the
people aren't gonna
pausing.
like this because they don't want to talk about this. Chattel slavery is the reason why we have multiple races. It makes
What?
Oh yeah, because the whole entire journey of humanity throughout the entire world doesn't matter. It was only when chattel slavery happened that's when people started to become races. I mean, technically, there are no races. There are just different shades of brown.
Yes,
Right,
we're all
crazy.
different shades of wheat.
That's the
Yeah.
most angering part of his videos is that. Okay. It's the,
Because we're all Homo sapiens except for a little bit of mixture that they'll say because of
no. This
Neanderthals.
guy's just homo, period. Okay. Nothing sapient about him, but he's definitely
wait.
He
So,
looks like a Neanderthal. Shit.
so Asians weren't even involved in in Western dealings for a good millennia plus. So how is it that
the only okay, so in the history of Asia and West relations, there was a point in time with the Silk Road where most of the interactions came. The last kind of interaction between the West and the East was during the Romans' time, and then it disappeared until the late Middle Ages.
Mhm.
And that's when they finally started getting back in contact with each other.
right?
Yeah.
I don't even know where he's getting this concept from. But okay, maybe the bonobo will explain it in a little more detail. Maybe all that wisdom is gonna fly out his nostrils.
You know what it is Mr. Potato Head knows.
I don't know what it, but his head is a very weird shape. Like
I wish we had something we can cover it.
he's like a misshapen watermelon.
I can't stop looking at it like nosy.
That's
Why the
crazy.
nose, though, man?
That is a massive. Okay, look, honestly,
Look.
people, you might wonder why we're harping on it. It's like this: if you walk into a store and they have a certain display in the center of the store that's louder in color than everything else, bigger than everything else, lights all around it, you know what you're going to automatically do? Stare at it. That's like this dude's nose. Okay, we can't look at nothing else because it's the most prominent feature and the most ugly feature on him. It's not our fault. Probably not his either. Genetics. But at the same time, bro, I wouldn't be advertising it like it's a flex.
I think the one time he went in the ocean, a starfish got attached to his face and then just kind of grew there.
So that's who he is. What's his name? Barnacle Boy. Starfish man and Barnacle Boy.
He could snorkel without a snorkel. He just underwater snorkeling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, you
Without a
know,
snorkel.
he might be. He could be. I don't know if you all remember this guy, but we had a guy that came in the room one time and we roasted him to the point where he left. And then he that was on Tuesday, and he came over here and we roasted him here and he left again. That might be him. I don't know. Could be.
Huh.
Okay, so
Who
let's see what he
knows, man?
says. It's a chattel slavery reason. Okay.
Yeah.
because they don't want to talk about this. Chattel slavery is the reason why we have multiple races. It makes no sense.
No,
I'm
it
glad
doesn't.
you
Yeah,
finally said something true.
Makes
Yeah,
What
it
you
doesn't
just
make
said
sense.
makes no sense.
I'm just waiting, except for white people. That's what makes sense.
Let's see if he says it. Let's see if he says it.
We were
expecting.
that different, folks. We wouldn't be able to reproduce. And that's another
What?
reason why we have this multiple races bullshit.
But that's not the question. If you were able to read, what did he ask?
How can there be multiple human races?
Human races.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
If his comprehension skill is off, then just say your comprehension skill is off. He's not asking how can there be multiple races. He asking how can there be multiple human. Your human race is one. It's only one human race.
But he also said something to the extent of it was the weirdest, most asininary thing I've ever heard. How can you have multiple races when different races can't reproduce?
When we
okay.
let's hear what he said. Let's hear exactly.
We're
I'll go
that
down with
different,
that.
folks. We wouldn't be able to reproduce.
If we're that different, we
And that's
wouldn't be able
another
to
reason why we
reproduce.
have this
Which is
multiple
true.
races bullshit.
If we're that different, we wouldn't be able to reproduce.
That's why segregation had to be put in place. People were
What?
What difference? I thought physiology matters, and a tallywhacker fits into a clam purse pretty nicely, as far as
Okay,
I'm aware
no.
of.
Let me school you on something. Okay, what he's talking about is like a liger and a tiger. right? You can make a mixed breed, but it doesn't mean they can reproduce. Most mixed breeds cannot reproduce. That's what he's talking about in this particular manner. So like that, but that being said, we also had Neanderthals, which were closely related enough that they could breed with humans, right?
But,
so they're still kind of the same thing too.
But but I get all that. But what the question is about has nothing to do with his response. Like I'm still confused. Maybe he'll bring it full circle, like his nostril.
Worried about what their kids would look like, not if they were healthy. Because ultimately, anyway, not if they were healthy, not if they got a good education. Just don't mix with that person. You don't mix with that person. That's why we have multiple races.
What?
That's just an in-group preference. Okay. Like a lot of that comes like they still do it today. Even the black community gets all up in arms when a black man or a black woman get with any other type of race to say that you're diluting the black culture. Right? They say that all the time. You hear this all the time on TikTok where they're like, they'll make fun of somebody for marrying a white man all the time. It's like, you have no place here. You won't even marry inside of your own race. Like they say this shit all the time.
Okay, I have a question. Which two races were put together to create Asians?
Well, Mongols for one.
No, that's just. Well, yeah, that's true because of Genghis Khan.
I'm saying that. So hear me out. If you're saying that multiple races exist because we can reproduce together, but people didn't want to reproduce it because they didn't want to mix with that person, but that's the result of what we get, then is that only applying to white and black people, or is that applying to everybody? And if it does apply to everybody, which races mixes to get what race we have now? Because there are some very distinct races out there that you can't get by black and white mixing together.
There are genetic mutations. Like that. Right. That's how you should really look at it. Is like most of the people that exist on Earth have mutations that exist that benefited them to the biome that they lived in.
Yeah, right? But that's not what his premise is. So I'm trying to figure out what his premise is coming, how he gets to that from the premise he's standing on.
I don't know. I have a whole other belief on race and how all that stuff, but that's neither here or there.
I'm just trying to I honestly am trying to figure out how he got from this question to all the tripe that he just spilled. I have no clue what any of the stuff he just spoke about had to do with what the question was.
And is he trying to allude that black people created all the races?
I don't even know if he's doing that.
It's hard to understand what his argumentation
because he kept talking about this race over here, this race shouldn't mix, and he was all over the place.
I think what
I'm thinking he's thinking that black people created all the races, mixing with Neanderthals and all this, and then this race and this race. It all started with black people.
Let's let him finish, and then we can analyze it more.
I doubt he finishes, but let's see.
People were worried about what they look like. People were worried about phenotypes because race made that shit so important. When they created that term, they, as in the European powers.
What race? Okay. Straight up, what race is he talking about? How many races are there?
I think what he's alluding to is that he's claiming that the Europeans, which they did do this as a pseudoscience, was create different types of races based on
only one race.
The humans that I know that. Okay. I think he knows that, and that's what he's talking about. But like what? But it's not just the Europeans that still believe this shit. There's lots of other peoples that still believe this shit. Like Han Chinese don't like mixing either.
Squidward.
They're not European and they're not white. So I don't think, but this is what you call. This is what it is. Really, is what it is. And this has been his MO for a long time. Okay, blame white people for everything wrong in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My problem is if you think that you're so much better than white people, and that you're so much stronger than white people, do something. Bust a move. But you know why you can't do nothing? Because you ain't nothing. You are not anything special. For all that bluster and talk about how we are one people and we are the original, and you can't do nothing. You guys, everywhere I see Negroes, it's trouble. You go to anywhere in Africa and you say that you run the place. Y'all can't even keep yourself together there.
Yep.
You still have the caste system there too.
They call you racist for mentioning this, but look what happened to South Africa as soon as they
Thank you
got
very
rid of
much.
the white power.
Heck, just look at Kenya. There are two
Yeah.
different Kenyas. If you go to Nairobi, you're going to see all kinds of ridiculous poverty in one section and a master life in the other. And who's running it? Not white people.
What was Rhodesia? Now what is it now? I
Rwanda?
can't remember. Rwanda. I don't know what Rhodesia turned into, but yeah, anywhere you look at it, like those types of things, you'll see that they didn't learn the lessons that were left. The institutions and the things that were left to them, they weren't able to actually utilize it properly. I know that sounds super racist. I'm not being racist here. I'm just telling you that's the truth. That's what happened. They killed all the Boers, they killed all the farmers, and then they couldn't farm.
And here's the problem with his type again. And there's many, just not on TikTok, all types of platforms. If the things that he are talking about or that he's making up, if that stuff didn't exist, say that all went away tomorrow, they would have nothing. They'd be useless. They'd just be a walking skin suit who has nothing to offer society. This makes them feel important. So he'll get up here and again talk to his base, which are mainly smooth-brained, uninformed individuals. Right. And they'll listen to this crap.
But here's the thing, that it sounds racist when you only mention Africa, but we can also apply that to Europe when the communists took over in Russia, is that you have a bunch of people who thought they knew better and they didn't. That's the same thing. So all the communists, especially in South America, these socialists and communists took over and they didn't know how to run the systems because they killed all the people that could run the systems. Same thing happened in Russia. They killed all the intellectuals, they killed all the farmers and gave the means of production to the people who had no idea what they were doing. That's the exact same thing that happens. So every time this happens is because people think they know better. I told you, midwits who think they're full wits take over and they don't know anything.
That's right.
So like this whole ideology is completely dangerous in the first place. So like,
but even in his own argumentation, it's like he's the type of guy that believes the cradle of civilizations in Africa, but it's pasty Africans who create race based on phenotypes. But he's also the same guy who thinks that you can only be black phenotypically. You can only have a phenotypical tie to Africa if you're black, and yet he excludes Northern Africans because
Northern. Okay, so they will also say that Africa is the most genetically diverse continent on the planet, which is true. Agreed. But that's also the reason they used to genocide other tribes in Africa is because they're not the same as them. They're not the same. Which keeps happening over and over again, where you have like Rwanda. That's why that genocide happened, is because they said they weren't the same as them, and so they killed them all.
Hey, look. People like to and this is what I call isolationist history. Okay, they somehow believe that the only people in history that matter are black people. Yep. Other races are inconsequential to the discussion. The only race that matters to discuss about, because they're the only ones that has been through anything, are black people, which is unequivocally untrue. Because when you look at places, let's go to just India. Okay. India alone endured massive hardship under the British rule. Okay, and I'm talking about some ridiculous beat downs, torture, and you name it. India went through that for a long time. I mean, way longer than the slave trade thing took place. They only recently got from under the monarchy. And if you want to talk about a system of people that were beat down and almost killed, it would have been India. Nobody liked them. So I don't see why you would have to harp on only black people going through stuff. Black people ain't the only one that been through stuff in the world. Yeah. You're simply not. And much less, this is what's going to anger a lot of people, especially African Americans. Y'all ain't been through shit compared to the rest of the blacks in the world. Like you have not yet had an entire street covered in your bodies where cars are driving over. You're yet to have that happen. Yeah. You're yet to have, you think lynchings in trees are bad. You have not yet walked into a village where every villager is strung up on poles and sawn and cut up and left in pots, and the whole village stays there to rot, and then some disease festers. You have not been through that, but you want to talk about your 400 years of something that you today never been through, while the people over there who had that happen to them are still happening right now.
Yeah.
But you're the victims of the most epic proportions.
Well, it's just also the same thing in South Africa, where carjacking is a normal occurrence. If you get carjacked like 3 times a year, that's normal. It's normal in South Africa.
Insane. Anyway,
let's none of them will go to Africa though. They won't go there to live. And I was watching this video real fast. I was watching this video about this lady who left America, moved to Africa, and she was upset she didn't get the Coming to America treatment. She wasn't seen as equal.
No,
so
they don't. They don't
lot
view
of them,
the same.
Yeah, they won't go over there and live because they talk about it so much as if they're grounded in Africa and they know nothing about it.
Yep.
And they don't want to do nothing here. So they'll just complain here all day. Well, go.
While he's living in the house he's in, by the way. That's incredible to me.
Yep.
Anyway, let Nostril Boy finish.
Obviously, at that time, so it's 1560. So we're talking about Spain, Portugal. Well, actually, yeah, Spain, Portugal, England.
Spain, Portugal, England.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question.
Portugal.
Let me ask you a question. Portugal. Are Spaniards the same as Europeans? And I'm talking about the one they consider Europeans white. Are they the same?
Yeah. Well, they're European.
Well,
no. What they consider Europeans are whites. Let's not get twisted. They consider.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
No, because there's a lot of mixed Arab descent in Spain because of the Moors.
Right. So why are you mentioning them with the people that are not? Like, I don't even get that. Like, I understand that the Spaniards had slaves. I get it. They were part of the transatlantic slave trade.
Italians weren't even considered white until rather recently.
Right. So I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, this is what they do. They conflate a whole bunch of stuff to make it sound like they knew history. He doesn't know history. He knows tidbits and headlines. He does not know history. If he knew history, he would understand first what America started off as and the reasons the people came here first to begin with. He'd understand that, but he doesn't understand that.
The 3 primary, and France too. France is pretty powerful. Somewhat. But that's why we have that shit. People got greedy. They wanted to categorize Africans as one race.
That's how stupid he is, because he doesn't realize that Africa is not all black, you monkey. Africa is not all black. But you're so stupid and racist in your own mind. You don't even realize what you are the white supremacist. The fact that you categorize Africa blanketly as black makes you a moron. Right off the top, makes you stupid.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because most of North Africa belongs to the Arabs. It doesn't.
I don't understand people like this, bro.
Black Africans. Yes, no.
Africa. Multiple countries, over 50 of them, but Africa, black people.
Yeah.
Bam.
Basically, anything below the Sahara belongs to the darker individuals that you usually think of being African, and North Africa is nothing but like Arabs.
Right.
Good night.
And this is one of the reasons Africans look at Black Americans the way they do.
Here it goes. Here he comes with it.
And white people being at the top of it. That's why people worry about what their kids look like, because it's based off of fucking eugenics and pseudoscience.
But they still do that today. They want to know how dark a kid's going to be when they pop out.
A lot of things. You can see that on this application too. Just look at the major creators. Be careful out there. Y'all have a good day.
All of that to say what? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. Just that there are no races, which is true. There are no races. There are different shades of wheat, as you said, and then there's also the fact that most of the genetic anomalies that exist in the human body have been catered to where they lived at. So white people are white because it was easier to get B12 absorption from a sun that barely shone, especially in the northern areas. If you live past the equator and in the south, you need a darker skin tone in order to reflect a lot of that, so you don't get overexposure to B12.
Well, here's his explanation of CRT. This is going to be the best one yet.
Let's hear it.
The basis of CRT, thinking critically about race, is fundamental flaw as it obfuscates of actions of some individuals and inaccurately binds others by skin.
Yeah, CRT is nothing but racist dogma.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's his explanation.
Before I begin this video, I'd like to thank this individual for Give me the motivation to come up with this information.
So let's get this straight right off the top. You didn't know this information before? I'm just asking the question that everybody should be asking, what he just said. Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah, but he probably parrots this information.
Well, I want to know why he's thanking somebody for giving him the gumption to find out information that you seem to naturally you should have, especially considering the positions you hold on things. So I want to hear you say that one more time so I'm not misquoting what you said.
Before I begin this video, I'd like to thank this individual for giving me the motivation to come up with this information.
Giving you the motivation to come up with this information. Now, this I can believe. You are definitely coming up with it.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well, let's see what you came up with.
Because people like you are sickening.
Why are they sickening? Because they don't agree with that black people should be taking the helm over everybody?
They always do this. They bring up the law theory. Every time anybody brings up critical race theory, they bring up the law theory.
But I thought he said race didn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Isn't that what he just said?
Yeah, it doesn't.
He said it, right? Okay, I want to make sure he said it. Okay, good. Let's find out now.
And also, here's the other thing, is that it's a theory.
Thank you.
It's a theory, man. It's not a law. It's a theory.
Okay, so he'll explain it perfectly. Trust me, I know.
I have some explaining to do.
Oh, better listen up
for it, man. We are.
Oh, let me have it, teach.
Finally, he's going to explain it. He's going to explain it, people. Yes.
Teach me. Teach me.
Please bear with me.
Okay, sure.
For folks like yourself, I want you to take this moment to understand. I don't do this out of anger.
Okay.
I do this because you need to be taught a lesson.
Okay. Teach me.
You're wasting time when you could be getting into the substance of the matter.
Yeah.
You said you're going to teach. So teach? Okay.
I'm already bored.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
If you don't have an understanding on the basic tenets on which critical race theory as a whole is based upon,
racism,
you should shut the entire hell up.
Well, you said you're doing it to teach, right?
Yeah.
So maybe instead of insulting your student, and now we're not telling you to teach anybody, but you said you're a teacher. Instead of insulting your student because they don't know, maybe spend more time teaching them.
Right.
A novel thought. I mean, I'm not an educator.
I wonder how aggressive teaching is part of the teaching curriculum now in today's schools. Like I didn't know you could call basically your student an asshat and then like tell them that they're stupid, and that be perfectly acceptable.
You know, teaching critical race theory just like teaching Mein Kampf.
It's essentially the same.
The same thing.
Just change out Jew for white people.
Yep, just change it out.
That's it.
Okay, let the educator educate. Now that he's got his rocks off.
So, listen.
So,
I'm already bored. See, I got ADHD, man. The minute that little intro, I would have already been looking at squirrels. Like,
I would have been scrolled up.
You know? Right now, he's 42 seconds in of a 3-minute video,
and he hasn't said anything.
Yet to tell you anything about the content of what he says he's going to teach you about.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just wasted 42 seconds doing nothing except looking at the camera with your flared nostrils and your finger pointing with your poor cut nails. And this is what you think is education. No wonder you couldn't succeed in the teaching arena.
It's funny to me because I mean, I wonder why somebody would get upset if you slapped a kid in the face and tell him, "Shut the hell up, you stupid," and then put a dunce cap on his head. Now listen, I'm going to teach you. That's what he's doing.
I'm trying to see
why
if
would anybody listen to you. That's not. There's no way to convince anybody if you call them stupid and then try to tell them why they're stupid.
I'm trying to see if his screen starts fogging up, but it hasn't yet.
It hasn't yet. No, he has a phone. No, you remember his nose is big. He can keep the camera ways away and it still look like it's large. So now, okay, 42 seconds. You should be done, right? Now you should be able to get to the meat and potatoes. Let's do meat and potatoes.
Don't type anything.
Okay.
Just listen.
Okay.
The person can't type anything when you're making this video.
Yes. I have
because they don't have it yet. And even if they decide to type something, they can still listen. I know it might be difficult for you because the walking and you know, chewing gum at the same time or rubbing your belly and patting your head. I know it's kind of tough, but other people can do it. So
you see here, the source is the Encyclopedia Britannica. Before I get into that, let's have an understanding on why critical is used in that terminology, because this is what America is supposed to be about.
Okay.
What?
Oh my
As
god!
I tell you, midwits who think they're full wits every
All
single
right, so
time.
he said America's supposed to be about critical thinking.
Yeah.
But if you question critical race theory using critical thinking,
that's bad.
That's bad. So you can't use it unless you agree. Then you can use it.
You know what he's using right now? It's called a appeal to definition fallacy. He's literally breaking down words to try and explain his point that makes absolutely no sense when you put it together.
My good sir, would you mind reading this?
What is that?
Oh, the book 5 Elements of Critical Thinking.
Oh yeah.
If you must have something, you might want to read this up before you start giving lessons to people.
Okay, I want to do something here real quick. Let me just do this right here. This is what his brain is doing at this moment.
Oh gosh, no! Stop! Stop it! Stop it! Make it stop! I can't take that sound. Oh,
He probably walks around with permanent brain freeze. He does.
Oh my lord, bro! This man has a dial-up internet on the brain. Nothing is functioning smoothly at all.
Yeah, here's one for you. What everyone believes is not always what's actually true.
There you go. Like Kamala's competent. That's not true at all. All right, so let him continue.
Before I get into that,
right,
let's
go
have
for
an
it.
understanding on why critical is used in
tell
that
us why.
terminology.
Uh-huh.
Because this is what America is supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm.
The objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Hell, this is why we have courts. You're looking at legal proceedings right here, bud, which is another reason why critical race theory is taught in law school.
Unfortunately for you, it's not just taught in law school.
The problem is that you're using critical thinking in a stupid way, because like in order to have critical thinking, you have to be willing to change your opinions based on new evidence and ideas.
Mm-hmm.
People on the left don't do that. They do not change their mind based off of information, data, or different ideas. When they argue with somebody, they don't care if they're right.
They just talk.
They just talk. They want to make sure that the message is being told and it's being presented, and there's no deviation from the message, or else you're a sellout.
So he should reverse it. Instead of critical thinking, it should say thinking is critical.
No, it's same speech. Like everybody has to be the same. It's hive mind ideology. We have to say all the same talking points always and forever. There's no deviation. Period.
Didn't we do a show about that?
That doesn't sound like critical thinking, though.
No, it's not, because that's exactly what they do. Like the people say that the right, quote unquote, isn't organized because they're too individualist. Yeah, because that's what critical thinking is being an individualist. You have to be an individual in order to have critical thinking.
Yeah, you can be an individual with a common. You can be an individual with a common goal.
Yeah,
we're all still thinking differently, just like on this show. Yes, we do agree on a lot, but we also have things we don't agree with each other with.
I went to college and I wasn't brainwashed.
Yeah, with our own logical approach to it. And look, we can disagree while seeing the other person's point of view and not agreeing with it because of their social or their spiritual standing.
Yeah.
I've got two of them. They're right there on the wall.
Well, maybe he'll make more sense in a minute. Maybe.
Because you need to be able to do this on a very high level, which is why folks like yourself need to be quiet.
Back up. Whoop, whoop.
Jeez, shut the hell up.
Nosy.
Okay, and what is up with this spot right here? Does nothing grows here, nothing grows here, and nothing grows here.
That's the reverse.
Bro, just look.
Isler.
I have realized that I can't grow this, right? But I can grow this. And even here, you see, I have like these two patches that, you know what I do? I brush it down so it looks like it connects.
Man, that nose is a weapon of mass destruction.
That
it's going to say on my obituary, died from suffocation due to lack of oxygen.
It like I bet his CPAP machine is like the size of the table. You got to put a hole.
It struggles. What it sounds like. It sounds like an air compressor going off in the middle of the night. Just
his CPAP looks like a med bed. You know how the med bed.
Oh man.
babe, get the CPAP. Baby, you
puts
know
it
I
in a-
gotta
he
roll
puts it
this
in a
thing
rucksack.
out on the dolly. She
He
gotta
has to
roll
keep
it
it in
out
a
on the
rucksack,
dolly.
man. That's crazy. All right.
Dang.
Okay, he's gonna make sense. He's coming up close to the camera. That usually means they have a great point to bring out.
Listen.
Okay.
So let's jump into the first tenet. There are 4.
Mm-hmm.
First, race is socially constructed, not biologically natural.
Untrue, but okay, go ahead.
I need to go on. I suggest you pause and read any.
If hold on, mister. If that were true, if you really believe that, I do not ever want to hear you calling yourself a black man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or black culture or rights for black people. I don't want you to even ask for that because it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
No.
No, okay. Okay.
Anyway, the second tenet: racism in the United States is normal, not aberrational.
That's
Okay,
not
that's
even
okay.
true.
This is stupid. If race doesn't exist, then racism doesn't exist. Because if you think of it in that logic, right? So you can't be racist to white people, right? Well, because race doesn't exist, so you're just hating a person because you hate them. That's just it.
I don't know. None of this stuff, even the theory of critical race theory makes no sense.
It
Even
doesn't.
the theory of it, on just looking at it, the first 2 tenets you showed me already proved to me that critical race theory should be tossed out as a theory.
There is an inherent majority bias in almost every single country in the entire world, right?
Oh, yeah.
If a population makes up the majority of the population, there's going to be a significant bias towards that population. It exists everywhere, right? Go to Japan. Who do you think is the majority population of Japan?
Ethiopians.
Yes. No, the Nippon, the actual Japanese that
Polynesian.
live there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you like the Japanese have a majority bias. You go to China. Who do you think is the majority population there? The Han. The Han Chinese are the majority population there. If you go to Rwanda, there is a majority population that exists there. Even though they're both Africans and they're black, there is a population that view themselves as the majority.
Yes.
And
It
it's
is
why
the ordinary experience of most people of color. Again, please pause and read the rest. Do you have a firm grasp on that, buddy? I didn't think so. The third tenet.
Okay, so you just assume his answer? Suppose his answer was yes, I have a firm grip on that. Anyway, continue.
Which is huge, because now we're talking about capitalism. Third, owing to what
there it
CRT
is.
scholars call interest convergence or material determinism, legal advances or setbacks for people of color tend to serve the interests of dominant white groups.
right,
Thus, the
which is the
racial
majority
hierarchy
privilege I was talking
that
about.
characterizes American society may be unaffected or even reinforced by ostensible improvements in the legal status of oppressed or exploited people. And another reason why this is taught in law school, every time there was something imposed, whether it be an amendment, local government, whatever, other legal ramifications came about that either suppressed it or enhanced if it was negative, or had a negative effect towards people of color. Again,
So
But
you're
that
telling me that you honestly do believe that black people are inherently lawbreakers.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me.
But here's the thing, dude. Like those, yes, did those exist? Everything that he's saying did exist. They are, because they were majority white in the United States, and they wanted to maintain that power. If you look at South Africa, when they were ruled by the minority and it got switched back to the majority black, what happened then? They instituted laws to do the exact same thing that they did during the apartheid. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter what group it is. They will do that to the other group they deem to be lesser than themselves. It happens everywhere. It's not just a white thing. It's not just an American thing or a European thing. It's an everywhere thing. It's a human thing.
Anyway.
And critical thinking backed by evidence. Moving on. And the fourth, members of minority groups periodically undergo differential racialization, or the attribution to them of varying sets of negative stereotypes. Pause and read.
But you just did the exact same thing to black people by assuming that a law against doing something, a law but about doing something wrong, adversely affects black people, because you believe that by nature black people do shit wrong. Like what?
Look,
Black white supremacy.
No, you have to look at their ideology, right? So we've already seen this over and over again it's like since 2016 to now. This is what they've been doing, where they wanted to do self-segregation, and they've been trying to pass laws in order to curtail what they deem as whiteness, right? So they've been doing the exact same thing that they're complaining about in law, by the way, and other places that they're complaining about. So they don't care about racism or this or the suppression that they're talking about. They just want the power themselves to do it to the white people, to the white class.
What I said earlier, it's all about power, man. And you know what? When it comes to self-segregation, give it to them. Give it to them.
Well,
find some land in the middle of Texas somewhere and say, "This is
why
Black
can't they just go get
This
it?
is
Why can't they just go get it? The Amish did.
This is your Wakanda right here. You want your
do it
Wakanda?
anyway.
You got it.
Anyways,
They also get angry when you tell them that they are advocating for replacement when that's exactly what they've been doing. Like with all this thing, they've been trying and have been replacing the majority that exists in the United States with people different from Anglo-Saxons or even Anglos or whites from Europe. That's what they've been doing. You look at what's happening in England right now, and Ireland, and all the other places, in France, right? What is happening to the native population of Europe? It's being pushed out. They're being colonized, and nobody wants to call it colonizing.
But he doesn't want to admit to the basic things of what he actually views Black people as. Yeah. Not what white people view Black people as, but what he actually views Black people as. Because in order for because if it really was the case that all these laws adversely affect what he says right, the minority groups, including Black people, then it should be applying to all Black people. It should be such a natural occurrence that no Black people should be able to make it at all. Then they go, so, well, there are anomalies. Why would there be anomalies in an inherently racist society?
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, that's the thing, is that the Black population is also being displaced right now, too, along with the white population in the United States. They seem to think that everything will be better once white people aren't in charge. It's like, okay, that's fine. Wait until the other groups are larger than you, and they don't care what you have to say because they weren't a part of that whole thing that you were advocating against. They just happen to be here now.
This guy's weird. Anyway, let me see what he says.
If you can't understand this, you have a good day.
It figures you'd use a faggot as a Black dude for your point of view. It makes sense that you'd use a gay dude to make your final point. It would make sense. That makes all the sense in the world because all you're doing is helping to buck bust more Black people.
Yep.
You would have been that house nigga that would have absolutely gladly go out, grab a Negro, try to run away, and buck bust them for massa. That would be you. That'd be you. But no wonder you picked the one faggot to do your stuff for you. No wonder.
And that's why these hoteps do it, Marlon, as I stated earlier. If more Blacks like us and more conservatives, real critical thinkers started really digging in deep like they do and actually telling these young Black kids that, hey, you can do this, you can do that. Stop playing victim, stop telling everyone you're oppressed. They wouldn't have anything. What would they have? What are some of these prominent Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and the Tariq Nasheeds, and what would they have? They'd be out of a job. This is money for them. If they can keep telling Black people that they're oppressed, that you're a victim, they get paid. Once Black people get rid of that ideology and that way of thinking, they lose money.
The only way to fix this issue in the United States is to have a national identity again. Like we have to stop seeing ourselves as all these different things because we're supposed to have an identity as a culture in the United States together. That's what the whole idea was, is we're supposed to come together. But everything that they've done, including CRT, all it does is completely break the fabric of society in the United States in order to get rid of this notion of race, which you say is a social construct, but then you harp about it every single day, every day, all the time, and you never let it go. It will always be that way. So the only thing that they've done over the last, since 2016 to now, all they've done is created more racists. That's it. They wanted to defeat racism with racism, and all they did was create more racist, right? Especially, they say, white supremacy is now on the rise. Yeah, I wonder why that would be when you have an entire group of people telling you you were evil and you need to be destroyed. What did you think was going to happen when you said that the white people are the bane of everybody's existence and they should be eliminated? What did you think they were going to do?
So let me ask a question of the white people out there. If one day all y'all
Oh.
decided to give black people what they believe of you as a reality, I'll tell you this much. You know what would happen to America?
Yeah.
You would be able to just wipe every last black people. Okay, there's more of you there, right? So just wipe them all out. It'd be easy because you know why? They don't have any idea how to survive outside of their hoods.
Nope.
That's why they haven't done anything, because they can't farm. And this is not a knock. This is just factual. There are very few black farmers anymore. There used to be a whole lot of them.
Oh yeah.
Late 1800s, mid 1800s, heck, the beginning of the 1800s, they all knew how to farm. You know why? Because they came from a plantation that taught them how to actually do that. You might not want to call it taught, but that's what they did. They did learn a trade. And when they finally got free, there were tons of them who actually went right back to the soil and made their money. Not all in cotton either. Not all in cotton. But the reason they stay away from talking about the Democratic Party is because there are reasons why majority of black people right now don't have the footing that they do.
Which is, I've said this constantly every time. It's like, black people need to get out of the cities. You need to go into the rural places. You need to get out of the cities. Like, dude, I live in Arkansas. And right now, from when I grew up to now, it is a lot darker than it used to be. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people out here. There's a ton of Mexicans out here that are living on the land, right? There's a lot of Marshallese. There's a lot of different people here. Hell, there were more African Americans living here than there used to be. But there's a lot down in Little Rock in the city. But they don't get out of the cities. They keep getting congested in the plantation that the Democrats have made for them in the cities, and they won't let them go.
Because they're reminded of mama.
If somebody, I'm down to homestead, man. I always say, if somebody wants to, man, let's get some land.
I just want to stay out
there.
Yeah.
Can I just stay home instead?
Well, you do what you want. I want to live out in the mountains with land, and I don't want no animals because I don't want to kill them. And lions and tigers and bears and
wild
booby
chicken
traps and lasers and a freaking molt with sharks and alligators in it.
Yeah,
and watermelon trees. Yeah,
and lots of watermelon.
They keep scaring them, thinking that there's still this idea of sunset towns. Like there might be one or two, maybe somewhere in the middle, ass nowhere. But like for the most part, there is tons of land that you can get and farms that are failing because the farmers are all growing old. Like we're running out of farmers. That's like nobody really realizes this, but we're actually having a crisis of the next generation of farmers. There's not enough of them. So all the corporations and private farms are coming up because of it.
We're gonna get a patriotic lesson now. What is America?
Oh yeah.
And of course, the angle down to look up the nose to see the entire back history of Black America is probably all up there. He keeps his lineage and his ancestry in his nostrils. All of the scrolls are held up there in the annals of his nostril. So let's listen for the full minute. I won't interrupt him because this is him pouring out his heart about America.
What is America? Is America where you live? Is that America? What about where I live? Where your friends live? Where your enemies live? Is that America? Does America change? Does it shift? Based on the population? Based on what's occurring outside of the country? Does America require us to unite? Or to just fall in line? Does America provide us stability? A place to live, a place to sleep? I want you to think long and hard about that. Before you put on your tack vest, before you load up your M4 carbine, before you put that mask on, those goggles, the helmet, before you put on that BLM shirt, before you call somebody the N-word because you don't like them, before you judge, I want you to think about those questions.
Okay, and I'm
that absolutely made no sense.
But doesn't he spend most of his entire platform judging white people?
Yeah.
Yes,
he does.
Did you answer any of those questions before you judge those people? I highly doubt you do.
And the stuff he was saying, he was trying to use all the terminology like he was some tactician or whatever. It made no sense to me. Zero sense. And then the music, he overdid it. It was just over dramatical, and you could tell somebody who's full of crap when they put music like that in the background to kind of draw the people into their bowl. Yeah, and it made zero sense. He lost.
what is America?
Yes,
What enemies are you talking about? Because like I think my enemies are the people that actually want to dismantle the United States, even though they keep calling us insurrectionists or a danger to democracy. The only people that are willingly and absolutely openly saying that they want to destroy America are lefties.
Hey, and I'll tell you who the enemy of America are Marxists and communists.
Yeah,
that's what he is. That's
yeah,
what he is.
and yeah, that's what they are. Most of them, and he's probably a W.E. Du Bois
More
follower,
likely.
most likely. And Marlon talked about this the last show. There's two types of black people in America. You have the W.E. Du Bois, and you have the Booker T kind of model of black folk. He's a W.E. Du Bois. He is what we would consider the enemy of America: Marxists, communists, anti-Americans.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's also the difference between those that actually saw slavery and those that didn't. Like it's one of those things. It's like the people that were advocating for integration and actually being American and being accepted were those guys, the ones that were in slavery to begin with.
And look at the difference between hoteps like this and black Americans that don't think like that. Usually we're happier, we live our lives, we're smiling more, we're just joyful people. Then people like this, look at them, they're usually miserable, they're angry, they're upset because they don't take responsibility for everything that's happening in their life. I can speak for myself. Everything that happens and fails to happen to me, I take sole responsibility for it. It is my fault. People like that, they won't take responsibility for it. So it's always the white man's fault. It's always America's fault. It's always the system's fault. It's never theirs. They don't take a look at themselves. They don't know themselves. Once you know yourself, you understand that you are responsible and you can control just about everything that happens to you.
Yeah. You know who's a real American hero?
Believe it or not.
No. I was going to say Frederick Douglass. That's who an American hero is. Is a guy that was born in slavery, taught himself how to read, and became one of the smartest individuals in terms of rhetoric that has existed. And he is an American hero, and he advocated for the integration into what is America. But the only people that exist today are people that want to eliminate what America is. Like, yeah, America is not a perfect place, but no country's perfect. I mean, pick me out a country that has a utopia anywhere or hasn't committed genocide at one point or another. There's not a single one on the map that exists. So for me, it's upsetting that these people that pretend to be, like I said, midwits who pretend to be full wits are so dangerous, is because they think they know what they're talking about with a full chest. They believe that absolutely wholeheartedly and will never change their mind. Those are the dangerous people because they turn into radicals.
The problem I see here is that they equate America with white.
Yes.
Okay. And which is what, if you view it that way, you will never assimilate or blend in with everybody else who does not see that. You're going to end up being ostracized because of your own stupidity, not because of reality. The more you buy into something that isn't true, you will create for yourself a whole separate world that nobody else sees. This is why it's not proven out in any kind of metric. No stat ever proves what they have to say, because those stats only exist in their minds. They do not have any tangible proof of anything they say about America currently. They just run with that narrative because that's what they feel. And their feeling has now become reality to them. No matter how much information you put to them, no matter how much history, they always want to revise it to fit their stupidity and hope that you'll be dumb enough to follow through with them. If we stop giving into their moronic behavior and their stupid way of thinking or lack thereof, I think we can end up ostracizing them enough to make them removed from society. Because here's what I say. I don't care if they're part of our functioning society, because right now they're destroying it. I don't need them around. We don't need those people around. We don't. And people might say, well, that's just another form of eugenics. If that's what you want to call it, feel free.
Well, they're already doing it to themselves.
I don't care for people like that, because you don't critically engage in any conversation. You have a preconceived notion of what things ought to be. And you never, ever, 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 even though you say it, look at other people's situations and say, well, I can understand why this is and what. But you want everybody to understand your situation and say, well, you grew up here and this is why you behave the way you behave. But everybody else can't get that same answer. And that makes you disingenuous. Either you apply that your history in growing up does affect how you become an adult across the board, and not just for Black people, or don't use it at all.
Yep.
But they don't like to do that. And he's another victim of that same process.
The only people that benefit from this conversation of race is the elites. That's it. Because it's like we got too close to the sun during Occupy Wall Street. And that is when critical race theory and all this other BS started to come about, was then. Is we got too close to us uniting as a populace to say, hey, this is some BS, when they bailed out all those banks.
Mm-hmm.
All that, like, which, by the way, was under your Lord and Savior Obama,
Black
who
Jesus.
bailed out those banks.
Black Messiah himself.
Yeah, the Black Messiah himself bailed out the big corporations and banks that should have failed and went under, because that's how capitalism actually is supposed to work. Is you're supposed to work up, build a business, and if you mess up, you lose all your shit. That's how it's supposed to work, not this socialist capitalist bullshit that we've got today, where we have to bail out all these people because they're too big to fail. Remember that? Too big to fail.
Yeah.
That's where we should be on the lines of, like, we poor Blacks and poor whites have more in common than anybody else in the United States. We have the same sort of culture. Whether you want to agree to it or not, we do. And the only people keeping us away from actually uniting together are the elites and the people with money. That's it.
And you know where that's true, Coy, what you just said? In jails.
Yeah.
Poor Blacks, poor whites, poor Mexicans, poor Asians, they all have something in common in jail. All of them. Yeah. They talk the same, they walk the same, they act, everything's the same just about.
Yeah.
So
they're a bunch of weird people, guys. And it's not even, while we enjoy roasting, because it really does do our bodies good, it really it feels fine. I mean, we have no problem with it. We also try to expose people for something, to something new, which is, just because you think different than us doesn't mean you're wrong. It's like some people decide, okay, I'm going to raise my children to be what I would like them to be in life because I can see certain traits. I'm not dogging you for that. It's your kid. Or some people leave their children to pick their own path in life. I may not want to do that, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. However, if you decide to not just make your child do something, but you beat the ever-living tar off of them and bind them mentally, that is where wrong comes in.
Yeah.
Because now you're letting your way of thinking affect them physically, and they do not actually get to choose it.
Yeah.
Now, guiding your children towards something you would like them to do, I have no problem with that. I can easily coax my kid to do something that would be positive for them. What I'm not going to do is hold their eyes open with toothpicks and use some sutures and stitch their skin if they act wrong, or get some electrodes and shock them into thinking the way I think. There's a massive difference. And what we don't have in this country is people being allowed to raise their children, listen to me, raise their children, function their life the way they see fit. What people want to do is the way I have it, you must do it too.
Yep.
Or it's wrong.
And on that note, Marlon, and it's kind of tying into what you're saying, and I've said this before, we got to stop passing trauma down as culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trauma isn't culture. You pass that down, what you consider culture, but it's actually trauma. It just continues on. You see it just continues on and on and on. And this is why we're at where we're at now, where people who ain't never experienced slavery, who've never experienced Jim Crow, talk about it as if they experienced it. Because what's the word did they use? Trauma. So it's from their elders passing it down as culture. We got to stop it. I don't do it as a parent. You don't pass that stuff. I know Marlon doesn't do it because I've heard him on a live saying he doesn't do it. Yep. We shouldn't do that. Let them learn the history. Let them learn it because we need to know the history. But that's not their history. That's history. That's not their life.
Yep. That's
our job is to get rid of generational trauma and create something for future generations to live better, thrive, and everything else.
Do you know that is an advanced form of Stockholm? It's not just Stockholm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because in Stockholm, there is at least a very recent exposure to said damage and trauma. Mm-hmm. This we're talking about multiple years in the hundreds away from what we're seeing now.
Yep.
This particular trauma bond does not happen because of Stockholm, because the ones even 2 generations back hasn't experienced it. Mm-hmm. You're talking about at least 3. We're going back here, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you were to look at this as renewed trauma bonding, because all you're doing is refreshing in someone's mind something that never happened to them, making it believe as though it did, That's a whole new category that you've just created for trauma.
Yeah, and
You're now having people live through something mentally and emotionally that they really have not seen or experienced. But by definition, in their mind, because they've been told this is what it is, you know what's going to end up happening? They're projecting it on people that have never done them anything, and they will start to experience something that's not even happening. It's like phantom pain when you're missing a leg.
Right, and you're not wrong, because like you think about it like this: the people that actually even the latest oppression that we talk about was Jim Crow laws, right? Eventually, the people that were actually alive during that time are going to pass, and then what? Like, what do you have then? Because like the people that remember that are gone, and you're not here. So like, what oppression have you faced that is still a problem? That's going to be the question that it comes down to, and then it's just generational trauma, like you said. That's all it would be. They didn't actually experience any of this stuff, but they're still pretending that they are.
And Corey, and that's a perfect point. This is why I think they're pushing CRT so much, because I really think there's a lot more parents who aren't pushing that trauma onto their kids. Yeah, you hear the loud ones, of course. Those are the loud ones. But there's parents like me, and I know many others who aren't pushing that the woe is me, here's what they did to us back in the day, and we're still affected by it. So now they have to say, hey, we need something else. We need a counter. Oh, CRT. Now we can teach these young black kids about all the bad stuff, white people, and then they can just continue it on. They don't want it to end. So if the parents stop it, the government's going to step in and say, no, you're not. We're going to teach it now.
And here's the thing that they've done that I think is going to be detrimental to the future of the United States is they've created an entire generation of young men, especially young white men, that are going to believe that they are being oppressed because they are. And I know people don't want to admit that, especially when they say, hey, you're not getting that promotion because we're not hiring white males, or you're not getting that job or that acting gig because you're a white male. And they're going to hear that over and over and over again. And they're going to believe, wrongly or rightly, that there is a system in place to keep them down. And then what? What are you going to have then? You're going to have a very, very, very young and impressionable population of individuals that are dealing with trauma because they created it in order to fix a perceived trauma that doesn't exist anymore.
That's what they're trying to do, and they're making. Now, mind you, it's working.
Yeah.
But I think there is a small pocket that will eventually, I think, take over. But there's a small pocket of the black population that doesn't want this anymore. They're done. They're tired of hearing about it, and some of them aren't even seeing it happening to them. So they're just like, well, that I don't know how true that is because it's never happened to me. And the instant they see that, they were like, well, if it doesn't happen to me, then I'm betting you it doesn't happen to a lot more of us. And if that's the case, then maybe I'm the reason that it might happen. And I think the more you see them waking up, you're going to see more people like him coming forward to dog them for waking up and saying, oh, you just forgetting what your ancestors went through. You forgot what this.
You deserve it. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
You deserve it because what your ancestors did, the sins of your father, you have to be punished today. That's the whole idea of CRT and DEI, is that because of things that happened that I was not in control of or had anything to do a part of, you need to pay for your ancestors' sin. That's what they're saying. That's what they're doing.
What do you call it? There's a term for that.
Indoctrination.
Blood price.
Blood price,
A blood price.
It's a blood feud. Just call it what it is. It's a blood feud. There are certain individuals in the United States that want the blood feud between blacks and whites.
Because that's the only way they stay in power.
Well, here's what I suggest. Here's what I suggest to all you black people that believe white people are the devil. Now, listen, what you think? You honestly believe white people are the devil and they hate you and all they do is oppress you. Here's my suggestion. Fight back. Put your money where your mouth is. Put on your big boy pants. Draw your balls up and fight back. Do something. But you know what? I know you won't. You know why? Because you know better. You know it's not true, one. But two, you know you ain't going to win. You're not going to win. There's no way in any planet, any hemisphere where you can decide you're going to rebel against white people in America and do anything like that and win. But you know, if you really believe that it's so detrimental to you, you have two options outside of that. You can sit down in your corner or you can leave. I would prefer that you leave, is what I would prefer.
And Marlon, you're not wrong. Here's a historical example of that. Haiti. The slave revolt took back any progress that was made once that happened. Like things were starting to shift in the United States where they were starting to go, okay, maybe we should stop what we're doing. And then the slave revolt happened in Haiti. and then they crack down harder.
Hey,
because
Marlon,
of
bring
it.
up that Earl the Pearls comment. Many of us are experiencing a generational curse.
I don't know about
yeah,
this. Now, this is a
yeah.
generation curse idea. I don't believe that at all,
That's what I
like
was gonna
in
say. Yeah.
any way, shape, and form.
And here and here's the thing about generational curses. And take it for what you want. If you think you are experiencing a generational curse, it is your job to break that generational curse.
Thank
if you believe that.
Yeah.
It's your job. You can't blame that on anybody but yourself, that generational curses stand. Your job is to break generational curses and then pass it down. And as the generations go on, all that stuff that happened to our ancestors in the past will be known about, but they won't be living about. They won't be living that stuff.
You don't carry it
So
forward.
that's where it starts. You know, like what I said with my son, I don't talk to this stuff with him. He's grown enough to know it exists. Does it affect him? No. He's biracial. Doesn't affect him. I say, keep moving.
When you really ask people what's actually stopping you from doing all the things that you want to do in the United States, nothing. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no law stopping you. There's nothing stopping you from anything.
Yep.
Like, you can do all the things that you want to do. And here's my suggestion to fix it. Like, I know we have 4th of July, which is supposed to be the Unity Day, but it's not. We should have the cookout day. Like, get everybody together, get everybody together and have the cookout. That's what we need. We need the cookout, man.
We used to have block parties doing that. They don't do it.
Exactly.
Potato salad and raisins. Everybody needs that.
Go back to block parties.
There's no community in the United States. That's the
they
problem
don't
we're
want
facing.
Community. They
unseasoned chicken. We need some more
unseasoned chicken and
some raisins
in your potato salad.
Oh man, best things ever. No,
and bathtub full of collard greens.
Listen, I've had potato salad with apples and raisins in it.
Oh,
no. Hear me out. Just hear me out. No, but hear me out. Don't dog that until you try it.
Yeah,
it sounds like a fruit salad to me.
Just especially like get everybody's food trucks around in a circle and just have the cookout, man.
Okay, I don't want nobody. It's good. I don't care if it's a white thing or black thing. It's good. That's all I know. It tastes.
I might try it. I don't know about the raisins, but I'll put.
But it's in it. Like you said, it's the generational curse or trauma that's keeping people from actually getting together and forming a community together. There's a lot of people that get along with each other.
Or drugs.
You know, it doesn't matter what color they are. They get along because they're Americans, and that's what we should be thinking about as being Americans.
It's like peanut butter and bananas.
That's good.
Yeah, see, or peanut butter. Elvis used to do it. A peanut butter and banana melt.
Yeah,
you know, like, yeah.
And before we go on, just real fast, we all live in America. We all go out in our towns, our cities, our neighborhoods, or whatever. Look around and tell me how much racism you see. Go to the movies. Go to the mall. Go to a fair. Just go out, and then really ask yourself: are we really a racist country?
Yeah.
All these different races of people just in here intermingling, getting along, laughing, joking, riding rides together, doing all this stuff. Are we really a racist country?
Yeah.
Because if we was, none of that would be happening.
If
small pockets of our country that are pushing this, they need to be ignored and they need to be laughed at because they're fools. They're here with a purpose, and their purpose is to keep the division in this country.
Yeah.
Your purpose is to get rid of that division and ignore them. We'll talk
You're
about
right.
them here. We'll talk
There are racists. No, there's no question about it. There are people that dislike somebody based on the color of the skin, and they exist in every culture. That's never going to go away.
Yeah.
The point is that if America was truly a racist place, there would be constant racial tensions and violence in the streets every single day. Because multiculturalism doesn't work if people don't integrate and have a national identity, which we are seeing in England, in France, and other places in Europe. They don't see themselves as where they're at. They don't see themselves as French. They don't see themselves as English. They see themselves as wherever they came from. And they brought that ideology into the place and did not integrate. Right. Americans are Americans. Doesn't matter what color they are. They're Americans. We have an American culture. And for you to constantly hate on that culture makes you outside of it. And so it's easier to do horrible things to each other when you don't see them as the same tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. But this was our episode, and as you can tell, Coy is very well capable of making you look stupid and sound stupid. And he did it pretty clean today. I was impressed. I was expecting him to really,
He didn't curse until the end.
Be coy. I was really surprised.
I don't know. Maybe I'm low energy today, but I did have
a
joke.
No, we're okay with that. That means it'll stay up and it won't get demonetized. So that's good.
That's good.
Then I can't say the last joke I had.
No, don't say it.
No, say this.
Oh, shoot. Don't curse.
No, it wasn't It wasn't cursing. It's just really mean.
Just don't say it, please.
now you can put me on the spot. But basically, what it was like his mom should have aborted him. But if she'd been smart enough to know the difference between the 5-pound burrito she just ate and the 12-pound shit she has to take, then she probably would have.
Dang.
He's in his mom's belly, just sucking her whole freaking placenta.
She probably thought that was that. Her contractions were actually him breathing.
Yeah, no, it's like it's a your mom is so dumb and fat joke all wrapped into one. It's great. It's brilliant.
Like you breathing.
They did the ultrasound.
Imagine him in there with umbilical cord, and all he has to do, and he has this thing up here, and all of a sudden he just says, "I don't need this no more." Poop.
they did the ultrasound. They was like, "Yep, it's a nose. We don't know
hold
what
on.
it is yet."
Your water didn't break. Oh nope, we found it. It's inside his head.
Which is so funny because it happens more often than you think, where people like don't know they're pregnant and they just take a shit and then oh no,
it's right.
You're one of those. You were a trash baby or a toilet baby.
Oh, that's messed up.
No, I just know that everybody that is for abortion is alive. I just don't understand why you didn't have that mindset, man. Hey, I just find it weird that you're okay with being around, but all of a sudden the future people shouldn't have that chance.
I still don't understand why you can advocate for a group of people that wants the elimination of your race and continue to advocate for the elimination of your race and force it. Yeah, because like, you defend Margaret Sanger, who was a eugenicist who hated black people, and you still defend Planned Parenthood, who wants to eliminate black people. It's amazing.
Because they're uninformed. How many, we keep saying this, they are uninformed. They don't want to know that part of history.
Do you think it's really uninformed, or they just don't care to know?
Well, both.
It's a woman's right to choose.
They're uninformed and they just don't care. Because especially when it comes to leftists, they're emotional based people, and if they in their head they're probably like, this is wrong, but since they want to be part of the group and they want to be accepted by the group, they're going to go with it, and they're going to scream just as loud about that issue, but they're not going to go out and do what they talk about.
Group thinkers.
Group
thinkers.
Group thinkers don't thrive. A society will fall. A society will fail. A society will crumble with groupthink. The reason our country is so great, in my mind, we have a bunch of free thinkers that built it. Just remember that.
Yeah, free stinkers. So we'll be back Monday. No topic yet. However, there's tons of stuff trending, including Joe Biden thinking he might be back in the race.
I heard.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Joe Biden might be re-entering the race.
How?
You know why?
Right?
Why? You know why?
Well, here's the thing. Even if it doesn't how or why, if he even decides that he's going to run and the Democrats don't want him to, what it's going to show is two things. The Democrats pick their candidates, not the people. Yeah. But secondarily, if he decides to be defined in his dementia and really doesn't want to back down, he'll split the vote.
Yep. But here's another thing you got to watch out for. If he does, let's say he does it by the weekend, says he is coming back in. Watch all these lemmings, Harry Sissons, all these lemmings flip again. Yes, I'm Biden, Team Biden all the way. But you was just Team Kamala the other day. Now you're Team Biden.
The funny thing flip. Is that people still assume that Kamala is the actual candidate, even though the convention still hasn't happened to name her officially the candidate.
The convention's next week. So if Biden's coming back, what if during the convention they do the whole, what Obama say, the okie doke, and say, no, Kamala, you aren't the nominee.
The father.
Joe Biden is. And they come out and say that. And they actually say Joe Biden is the nominee.
I think there's going to be a major upset at the DNC. I do not think that Walz and Harris are going to be the pick.
No. I think it's a show. And I think there's going to be riots and protests and all types of crazy stuff.
I think they were trying, but I think there's too much baggage for both of them.
You guys are too hopeful. I think
I think they're going to shut down the DNC convention.
No.
I don't know, man.
They will pick Kamala. They will pick Kamala. They cannot get off their identity politics. They don't know how. They do not know how to leave identity politics long enough. Okay, they can't do it.
The other major problem is that they don't have all of the presidential ballots in every state for Kamala Harris or Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not gonna,
because they put their convention too late in the game, and all these people had timelines when you're supposed to be able to do that, and they've already passed them.
Wouldn't it be funny if Trump shows up at the DNC?
I'm here to
just patrol them.
And here's the thing, what just came back? What just came back? Monkeypox, right?
Yeah.
Remember we
The
said
sexually
something about this?
transmitted disease. Yeah.
We said this, months ago about how something will come back, a pandemic, a war, something will start to where we keep saying the election's not going to happen. This is their ace card.
Mm-hmm.
They know at the convention something's going to go wrong at the convention. I think something big.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, we can't have the American people thinking that the DNC and the Democratic Party is divided. Hit them with the monkeypox. And then they shut everything down.
I still think it's funny that they stopped talking about monkeypox as soon as they found out it was sexually transmitted and dogs and kids were starting to get it.
Yeah. And
Now
now
wait, it's not monkeypox, it's something else.
But then they stopped reporting on who was getting it, so like you couldn't tie it to anybody because like I think somebody got monkeypox, did something to a kid, and they're like, "Oh, we can't let that get out."
No,
Yeah,
don't say that one.
They already got cases in San Francisco. This is how the fear tactics start, right? They announced it like a day before, and then the very next day they announced it in Africa, and then the very next day it was in San Francisco. You see,
Wait, there's a parvovirus.
Yeah, they called it the monkeypox. It's something. It was in the sewage in the water or something. So it's just prepare for chaos these next few months. It's halfway through August, going into September. You're going to see around, August into August, beginning of September. You're really going to start to see things heat up.
Yep. Mm-hmm. My theory is I think that the DNC is going to be an open primary.
Ooh, that's not good.
Because it's happened before. In the 60s, they've already talked about how it happened in Chicago again back in the 60s, and it's more than likely what's going to happen is they're going to have an open primary, and people are going to throw hands on who's going to actually get it. And the super delegates are the only ones that actually matter. So whoever they're backing are the ones that are going to be.
I'll pay money to see that. I want to see that. That's pay-per-view stuff right there.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun.
That's pay-per-view. When is it? Fun. Next Tuesday, you say?
It's next week sometime. I don't remember now.
I know it's next week sometime. But
if it is and it's streamable, we should stream it.
Yeah, and commentary through it. I mean,
yes, for sure.
The convention's what, a week? No, 3 days, 4 days?
Let me see when it is.
Please let us know when it is. If it's on a day we're live,
I want to get the day where like Kamala and they're doing the day they're casting their votes.
It is the 19th through the 22nd.
So that's the first day where they cast their votes for a delegate.
Monday. It starts Monday.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes. The delegates is the first day. So if we can stream while they're doing the delegates.
We're doing it Monday. That's what we're doing.
All right. Yeah. So the DNC is on Monday.
Perfect. That's what we're doing. There it is. There's your topic, people. Share it. We're going to cover the DNC and their pick for Camel Toe Harris and Mr. Horse Seaman Walls. Okay.
Oh, man.
Disgusting people. Anyway, we'll be here for that. Don't miss it. Too Strong will not be on tonight. Corey's floor isn't done yet, so we'll have to rain check for that possibly tomorrow night instead. And then we'll be back on Monday for Savage and Monday for Straight Talk, and also Monday for Too Strong. So look out for that. Love you guys. Lee had to take off. He had some work calling him. Asians people, they don't know how to stop working. Yeah, we said, long time work. What a long time work. We called it an hour. So he went. He's gone. He'll be back up with us, of course, come Monday. So he's not gone. Okay. So we'll catch you guys. Make sure you go check the t-shirts out. Drop some funny ones. We love you guys. We'll catch you back on Monday on the Savage Patriots. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We out. Peace.
Or.